National Bolshevism is not a government ownership, a welfare state, or representative bureaucracy. National Bolshevism is a new social and economic order in which suffering is and its causes are mitigated. We are the National Bolshevik Party. As sentient beings, we recognize the nature of the future and the universe set forth by our throughness and our ability to obtain peace and happiness. Being in the world is not a mere anthropocentric concept, but the natural order and existence of our world. We inherit a system that perpetuates the system of suffering, and our current system is inadequate at ending suffering and has dragged us into the state of apathy. The impoverished starve despite producing more food than we consume. Degenerates who murder are only responded by empty threats and protected by apologists. Children die of preventable diseases, or criminals invade and destroy lives only to be rewarded and revered as heroes. People simply watch as their society crumbles and consequently perpetuate the cycle of suffering. And for this we do not stand. Nowhere is the shift away from more prevalent today than in the movements of Ukraine, whose civilians took up arms to defeat their nation, even in your community leaders who organized to end hunger and homelessness. The goal of ending the cycle of suffering requires widespread understanding and activeness and will not be achieved by apathetic elite. Daisen is the key and central position to organize and fight back against the status quo. Leaders are a major force worldwide that can lead us to the way, to the rebirth of humanity. We welcome those who are proud of their nation, proud of their race, and have religious faiths who trust in the creed that we set forth and seek to create the Nova Penge, and ultimately seek to accelerate towards the singularity known as Angus, or the event, the moment that all suffering ends. Of course, you don't have to be religious to be a part of this. You can be if you want. It doesn't really matter. The fourth political theory states that the first political theory, liberalism, specifically classical liberalism, has dominated the second political theory, communism, which was a reaction to liberalism. The third political theory, fascism, was a reaction to both. However, both communism and fascism failed to remain in vestigial states, leaving liberalism, however, has become a formal shell of itself, and it's woefully inadequate at ending suffering. The fourth political theory proposes a new system based on the Sai being the world as an alternative. The National Bolshevik Party is committed to the rights of free speech, free press, free assembly, and personal privacy, and the freedom of religious choice. We oppose so-called anti-terrorist measures and criminal code reforms that restrict legitimate dissent. The National Bolshevik Party works to build a world in which everybody will be able to move freely across borders to visit or to live wherever they are most comfortable. We recognize the central role globalization plays in forcing the immigration of people from the less developed to the more industrialized countries, often linked to further economic and social injustice. The National Bolshevik Party recognizes the human and civil rights of all without regard to sexual orientation or race. We are committed to the creation of a pluralistic society that defends and promotes a unity in both the public and private spheres. The National Bolshevik Party is committed to the eradication of exploitation and suffering. The National Bolshevik Party recognizes the civil rights of all without regard to physical or physiological differences. We deplore the physical and social barriers that prevent the full participation of people with disabilities in vital spheres of life. The National Bolshevik Party recognizes the right of seniors to a dignified life, free from economic hardship, social isolation and discrimination in employment and credit. Significant income, housing, healthcare, and medication, and access to social services must be guaranteed to all elders. The National Bolshevik Party recognizes the rights of animals to live free from unnecessary pain and suffering. We support the spaying and neutering of pets to prevent the massive extermination resulting from overpopulation, and we oppose the entertainment that causes pain to animals. We support greater inclusion and enforcement of the Endangered Species Acts. We oppose factory farming, practices of overcrowding, drugging, and otherwise cruelly treating animals. The National Bolshevik Party stands for fundamental transformation of the economy, focusing on eliminating inefficiencies. Only global transformation from the status quo to the end of suffering will provide the conditions for international peace, justice, and economic cooperation based on a large-scale transfer of resources and technology from the developed to the developing countries. We encourage the creation of worker and community-owned corporations within the framework of a decentralized and democratically determined economy. We call for a minimum wage. We support the provision of all livable guaranteed annual incomes. We encourage the creation of community-owned and operated financial and insurance institutions, which should include credit unions, mutual insurance, cooperatives, and cooperative banks. We oppose progressive taxes such as the payroll tax, sales tax, and property taxes. We call for pensions to communities and pensions, retraining, and other support service for workers affected by plant and military-based closings. We oppose the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and the World Trade Organization. Call for increased and expanded welfare assistance and increased and expanded unemployment pension, 100% of workers' previous income, or the minimum wage, whichever is higher, for the full period of unemployment, or retraining, whichever is longer. We support tax benefits for renters to equal to those for homeowners. We call for the elimination of subsidies and tax breaks that benefit corporations and all other forms of corporate welfare. The National Bolshevik Party stands for the rights of workers to freely organize a democratic organization and for international solidarity among working people based on common opposition to the status quo. But we believe that the international organization of labor is the only way of combating the status quo. We support the right of any number of interested workers in a workplace, or to form a union with no limit on the subjects upon which employee or union may bargain with employers. We support the right of public sector's workers to strike. We call for the democratic control of all unions by their membership and independence of employers, domination, and influence. We support the right of all workers to engage in collective action or self-representative, regardless of union status. We support militant union labor action, including Hokkaido agreements and boycotts, factory committees, secondary and sympathy strikes, sit-down strikes, general strikes, and ultimately the expropriation of workplaces. We call for the same benefits for part-time workers as for full-time workers. We call for increased health and safety regulations on business, and for increasing the size of enforcement power and occupational safety and health administration. We support the creation of a fund for workers, which would pay a worker's full wages and health insurance, as well as necessary education and or retaining costs if that worker loses a job due to environmental transitions, downsizing, corporate dismantlement, or capital flight. We call for unions to stop using union funds for electing candidates from the Democratic and Republican parties. Number 1. Excerpts from the Fourth Political Theory. 2nd. National Bolshevism in a New Light. 3. Being and Time. 4. The Crisis of the Modern World. 5. Revolt against the Modern World. 6. The Coming Race. 7. The Lost Horizon. Thank you very much for watching. Please rate the video how you will. Please comment or subscribe, or do nothing if you really don't want to do anything. I appreciate your view.